I think there are 4 guys in the NBA, and maybe even more, who are running out of time to win a championship when they're in their prime or at least close to it. These guys are still good to great players, but the personnel around them isn't right for them to compete, and I think they need to be moved out of the situation if they're trying to seriously contend and do what they need to do to solidify themselves as one of the best ever. This will be hard with the team that is around them, and the first guy I'm starting with is Blake Griffin. When it comes to my top favorite players in the league, Blake Griffin is definitely up there. So his career and where he's going to take it in the future is interesting to me. This Pistons team is, in my opinion, the most average team in the NBA. With a guy like Drummond, a guy who shrinks when high leverage moments really come upon the Pistons, and his rebounding and the putbacks he can get is great, but in high leverage moments, like I said, in the playoffs, this disappears. They added a guy like Derrick Rose who could bring some veteran leadership to some of the younger guys. They don't have much young talent either. This Pistons team is very, confusing because they have a great player like Blake and guys to surround him with like Drummond, but they don't have the personnel around Blake to really win a championship, which is why I say Blake is running out of time, because if he really wants to win a championship when he's still a good player, and even when he's nearing the end of his prime, I think he needs to try and get out of Detroit. Even though I think he likes it there, it's not the right team for him to really succeed and solidify himself as one of the best of all time. And I think the Pistons are in a really weird spot because they don't have the young talent or assets to really trade for anyone to add to the backcourt right now to help Andre and Blake out. They don't have much cap space to sign anyone, and Detroit isn't a big destination. It's not a huge market to attract free agents to want to go play with Blake and Drummond. NBA teams I would love to see Blake with are the top teams. A team like the Warriors or the Nets, the Rockets, the Clippers, but I know most of the teams are very unlikely, but I don't really care. It's not about the possible teams when it comes to cap space and assets and things like that. It's just teams in the perfect world I would want to see Blake with. I don't want him with a team like Pistons. Like I said, I think they're the most average team in the NBA. I want to see him with a contender to really test his talent, see how good he is, and give him a chance to win when he's still a good player, top 25, one of the best players in the league, and I hope he's not stuck in Detroit for the rest of his career. I hope he realizes soon that he's not winning in Detroit and he needs to be moved.
Oh, you think this easy, big man, huh? Play ball professionally? Yeah.
Kevin Love is the second player that I think is running out of time to really win a championship when he's still a good player in the NBA. The team that's surrounding him, he has some young guys around him like Jordan Clarkson, and with the newest addition of Darius Garland and Colin Sexton being there, it's clear that the Cavs are rebuilding and trying to rebuild after the LeBron era in Cleveland. Now they're not going to do this to win a championship now, so I think Kevin Love's not in the right situation for him to really show all of his talent. He needs to be with a contender similar to Blake Griffin. Like I said, with the players on his team, a lot of them are very young, and they're trying something out with Garland and Sexton both being point guards and putting them on the same team. So I don't think Kevin Love's in the right position for him to really show how good he is at his age. Kevin Love's regular season stats weren't bad this past season, but he only played 22 games, missing a lot of games due to a toe injury, so his stats really don't matter, and you can't look at them to judge how good he is. If he isn't the only star on a team, he could be more healthy because he's not the one who's being relied on at all times. He could still be a valuable shooter to a team, a good rebounder, and again, like Blake, I want to see him with a top contender because I think he fits it with most of the top contenders in the league. He fits with a team like the Rockets that lives and dies by the three. He can shoot the three, he can grab boards. So he's a valuable asset to any of the top contenders. I just don't want to see him on the Cavs with a team that is obviously rebuilding, trying to rebuild to championship level years down the line. With Garland and Sexton, some of the young guys, Kevin Love is over 30, so he's not there. He's not a part of the rebuild because he's a bit too old. So I want to see him with a team that could actually use him and not just waste his talent, and just have him there as a veteran guy, a guy who can actually use his game to go ahead and win championships. Before we get into the third player, if you're enjoying so far, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'm Roshan with Hoops Times 2 with the like button if you're enjoying. Hit the post notifications so you're notified whenever I post another one of these videos. So third in this list, you got a 34-year-old point guard Chris Paul. It proves he still has some left in the tank in the 2010 playoffs with James Harden and the Rockets against the Golden State Warriors that ended the conference finals. Many people believe that if Chris Paul doesn't get injured in 2018 against the Warriors, the Rockets would be champions right now of the 2018 playoffs. On the Thunder right now, I think the best they could do is make the playoffs. Other than that, not much. A team I want to see them on would be the Miami Heat, pairing up with Jimmy Butler. I think that could be a good duo and add to the number of duos in today's NBA. But in the East, I don't want to say it's weaker, but there's less competition in the East than the West. So I think if he was on the Heat, he would have a better chance at winning more games. He's still not winning a championship with Jimmy, but at 34 years old, he doesn't have many options. Many people are not going to take on this monster of a contract that Chris Paul has. So I think if he gets traded to Miami, they can win some games out there, make some noise in the playoffs. But in the West with OKC, again, they can make the playoffs, but they're going to be a first-round exit. Gallinari, Adams, they surrounded him with some guys, but not enough to do anything. If Chris Paul is the best player on your team, you're not winning a championship at this point in his career. For the fourth and final guy on this list that's running out of time to really win in their prime is John Wall. Like K-Love and Chris Paul, he's been riddled with injuries in the past years. Up until his season-ending heel injury this season, he wasn't doing bad in the 32 games he did play. And then he tore his Achilles, so when he finally does return in the 2020-21 season, a lot of the explosiveness and quickness and speed that he uses in his offensive game is going to be gone. Some guys have returned from Achilles injuries and been better, like Dominique Wilkins, but a lot of the guys, a lot of cases, have come back worse and a shell of themselves. And even if he does return 80%, the Wizards aren't going to be right there ready to win, adding John Wall. It's a two-guy race right now with Giannis and Embiid in the East, and even if John Wall does return, the Wizards aren't going to be too good. John Wall is one of the best point guards in the NBA when healthy. With all the injuries lately, he really doesn't have a real shot to win in his prime. In conclusion, these four guys, Blake Griffin, Kevin Love, Chris Paul, and John Wall, are running out of time to really win big in their prime, and the chance is fading away on the team that they're on. Blake Griffin, Rose, Derrick Rose, and Andre Drummond are all nice players, but nothing to help Blake really compete in the East or in the West. The Pistons are a very average team, and Blake Griffin can't be the best player on their team if you're going to win a championship. Kevin Love. The Cavs are obviously rebuilding, trying to rebuild after the LeBron era in Cleveland, and just had a lottery pick with Garland. John Wall is riddled with injuries. A lot of his explosiveness and quickness in his game is going to be gone when he finally does return. And Chris Paul, the Thunder ceiling is an 8th seed and the first round exit at best. So these four guys, they're all still good players. Chris Paul and K-Love are the two guys out of the four that are already past their prime. So those guys I want to see on a contender and see what they could do before they retire. Blake Griffin and John Wall. Blake Griffin is not in a bad situation, but he's not going to win with the Pistons. Same with John Wall being riddled with so much injuries. And the injuries that he's had, a heel injury and Achilles tear, they're all ones that are really going to take a toll on his offensive game because he uses so much explosion, the first step he has, and quickness to get open. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Roshan with Hoops Times 2. Subscribe if you love the NBA and hit the like button if you enjoyed. Peace out.